Hello everyone and welcome to our live webinar today. I'm Jodi Barrows with the Square in a Square, and we have got some exciting stuff for you. We are in the middle of quilt season and we are marching strongly into Quilt Club Week, which starts in just a few days. So if you haven't signed up to be a part of our exciting Quilt Club Week, you need to do so right now. You can go to the website squareinasquare.com and sign up right there and get all the information that you need. And there it is right there. Squareinasquare.net is our teaching website, and that is a wonderful place to go. You can sign up there too. We have squareinasquare.net, that is our teaching website, and we have squareinasquare.com, that is where all the products and orders and that kind of stuff, that's where those are at. So two different websites that do two different things, but both of them are all about fun and excitement and becoming the quilters that we've always dreamed about being, and being able to accomplish things that we thought we couldn't. That's what I love, love, love about the Square in a Square system, the overcutting that we do, and the science of patchwork, is that you can up your game and become the piecer that you've always dreamed of. That's what I always say. And with having all of our classes online, then quilting never sleeps, no matter what time of the day or night, no matter if you're a night owl or you're an early bird, no matter what, you can go right in there to those to the website and start watching and learning and growing and get your entertainment and your excitement. Now, what is quilt season? Quilt season is about from mid to late August all the way to the holiday times in November. That is what we call quilt season. That is when a lot of people start turning back to indoor things and they go back to their hobbies that they love and their sewing. And during COVID, of course, when no one could go anywhere and there were no quilt shows, we went on and just started broadcasting every day, every day, every day, because we needed to get our mind off of what was happening in the world, and you guys did too. And you needed to have something to look forward to. And so we started doing that very, very heavily just every day. And there were some times that we even went multiple times a day, went live to give you quilting and sewing and fabric and tips and hints and knowledge, and to up your game and your knowledge and your ability and what you love to do, which is sewing pieces of beautiful fabric together and getting great results for the time and effort that you're doing. So I was like, okay, we can't go to quilt shows. What can we do online that's fun and exciting and kind of all jam-packed together in multiple days, like a quilt show? So some people have never ever even been to their local quilt show, let alone a big one like Houston or Paducah. But this is what happens at a quilt show. You gather together with other people who love what you're doing. You go into the doors of the building and you're overwhelmed with the sights and the smells and the beautiful colors and arrays of fabric. And you start walking down the aisles of the vendors. You look at what they have. They may have demos going on. They may be showing you how to do something that you never thought about doing before. And then you can go in and set in a lecture. You can take a seminar. You can do hands-on classes. You can do quick little demos. So the teaching and the lectures and everything are just as short or as long as you want them to be. So my wonderful husband, Steve, who is a retired pharmacist that now does all of our IT work and brings all of this right into your homes for you. He loves to do it. He's very smart and capable of doing all of this for us. So anytime you have any technology questions, just email. Go to the website and email, or Steve, the email you want them to use is Steve or Jodi at squareinasquare.com, and you can get your technology help so that you can learn how to bring all of this into your own home. So today we're going to do a demo on FireFlies, which is when we put multiple triangle units together. So when you look at all of these triangles coming together here in the Lady of the Lake, you don't have to be scared of them. You don't have to say, I don't have the time, or I don't have the skill or the knowledge to do that. We're going to show you today how to do that. And that's what I love about the Square in a Square system is that we give you the skills, we give you the knowledge, we build your confidence, and you're like, yep, I can do it. Or maybe this beautiful feathered star over here. This is the one that's on the cover of the FireFly book. And that's what I love about the system and what we teach. And I got lots of different things. I'm kind of thinking, okay, which direction do I go here? But while we're talking about this, I always have all of these stacks of text messages, emails, just correspondence from people telling us what they've learned, how excited they are. They wished they had joined Premium Club and Quilt Club Week sooner. They wish that they had jumped in on Square in a Square when they saw it the first time at the Houston Quilt Show or Paducah or wherever it was I was at. I've traveled the world for 40 years and I have been everywhere teaching Square in a Square and helping people accomplish and learn how to do what they love. And so this one was one that I just printed off. It just came in yesterday. And this was actually off of our Premium Club member Facebook page where the members were talking about different things that they were learning. And so this is from someone that is in our Premium Club and has been in it quite a while, and she's still loving it. She's still having a great time. She's still learning. And she said, I agree about the skills that Jodi teaches us. I can apply those skills and get consistent results. We have learned to adapt, change, modify, and not to be afraid to combine and create. I'm just literally getting chills over me to think that I have encouraged and empowered people to step up their game and do what they love. I'm so grateful to have increased my accuracy and my ability with Jodi and Steve and the Square in a Square system. And then one below her that's commenting on hers is, I'm going to say, a fairly new member, and she's like, I agree wholeheartedly. So just in this one little section on the Facebook page, we have a member who's been with us for many, many years, who's still loving and enjoying and being challenged and learning and growing, and another one who's a beginner who's up in her game and getting going and having a great time. So these reviews like this that I read to you guys, to me, are just the icing on the cake. They encourage me to keep going, and I think they encourage you to get going and keep going and up your game. So I just love, love, love that. Now, before we get into the teaching, let's see if I finished on Premium Club. So on Premium Club, so all of these different classes, workshops, seminars, lectures, and so on. And we have been doing, this is class 5, so this is now 5 weeks that on Tuesdays we've been doing build up to let you know what's going on and what we're doing. So if you haven't watched the previous 4, then go back in and watch. The very first one and the second one, I had quilts up here that we have taught in Quilt Club Week and quilts that we're going to teach in Quilt Club Week. And Quilt Club Week has full quilt classes, but it also has all those little fun things in it, little demos and little techniques and little lectures here and there like you would see at a quilt show. Like from this vendor or teacher, you would watch a quick little demo on how to do whatever, and this vendor or teacher, you watch a long demo on how to do, or actually sit down in a class and make a quilt. So that's what Quilt Club Week is about. And the cool thing is if you get interrupted or have emergency or whatever, and it pulls you away, you can come right back to it. If you're at a quilt show and you leave and you're gone and you don't get to finish, it's over because it's not recorded. You don't get to come back to it. So to me, it's the best of both worlds. You get to hang out with people that are like-minded, do the same thing that you do and want to learn, but I'll do it in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to spend money on a plane ticket or a hotel room or dinners out. You can, people are out making their meals and putting them in the freezer, and they're hanging signs on their door that says gone quilting, because Quilt Club Week is coming and we're so excited. So go back and watch those past videos. Take advantage of the sales and the promotions that we're having. They will go until they're sold out or until the end of the month. And then October 1, on a Tuesday, after Quilt Club Week is over, we're going to have a promotion on our brand new fabric line that nobody has seen. And so we're really excited about that. So today, Tuesday, we'll do our FireFlies, and then starting Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we'll have our open to the public free webinars like this of teaching, and you can, do they have a calendar already of what's going to be taught Sunday, Monday?
It's on the download.
So for the downloads that they got today or last week?
Yes, it's the same last week as today.
Okay.
And if you're signed up on our teaching website for our free webinars, there's a link there as well for the downloads.
Okay, so I think that's really important what Steve said. He has provided a lot of stuff for you on the teaching website. The teaching website is squareinasquare.net, and you can go there and get your downloads, and it will have what we're teaching Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and that will be open to the public. Now, also at this squareinasquare.net is where you sign up, and then you can go in and watch all of the free webinars in there that we've done. So go and do that. Then it makes it easy, so you don't have to go on social media, wherever you're at, and look for and hunt and peck and all that to find what you're wanting. You can just go straight to the teaching website, jump right into those webinars, and get what you want. Now, the other thing that we have that's new that we're so jazzed about, because we have hundreds, literally thousands of hours of teaching on that website, is that it can be a struggle to find what you're looking for. We have a brand new search engine. You can just go to the search bar, type in with as few of words as possible what you're looking for, and it will take you to that video. So no more searching and going back in your little book of notes trying to figure out where stuff is. Squareinasquare.net, go in and sign up, whether you are watching the freebie stuff or whether you're Quilt Club Week or whether you're Premium Club. That's where your downloads will be. That's where your search bar capability is. It's wonderful.
Go over again the time frame for Quilt Club Week when everything starts.
Okay.
I mean, we're in pre right now. But
we're in pre-quilt season right now. This is like if you were, of course, we're Texas, so hunting is a big deal. So it's like pre-deer season or pre-whatever. You know, they're checking their boots and their camos, and they're getting their guns oiled and making sure they have the right kind of ammo, and making sure that their buddy's going to come with them. And my sister lives down in Fredericksburg, Texas, and she has a pie shop. Those hunters come in and buy those pies. So you're ordering your pies so that you can take them. So you're making your meals and putting them in the freezer so you can get ready for quilt season and all that. So we've been hyping you up and getting you ready and trying to get you all the information we can so that you can get excited and motivated and enthused and jazzed and turned on and get ready. We've even got signs you can put on your door that says "Gone Quilting" or "Do Not Disturb" or whatever, and that's in those downloads, and downloads for the covers of your notebooks and everything. So Sunday, so today is our fifth one of our pre-webinar. Sunday, I think Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all the classes are at 11 because we've been doing these at 11, and of course that's Texas Central Time. So Sunday, we have a quilt planned for you. I don't have that paper with me or know which quilt we're doing on Sunday, but it's a full mini class of a quilt. I'm thinking it's Midnight Orchid. I'm thinking that's Sunday.
probably.
If it's not Sunday, it's Monday or Tuesday. It's one of the pre ones.
Going with the schedule.
So Sunday is a quilt class at 11. Monday, a quilt class at 11. Tuesday, a quilt class at 11.
And that's for, those
And
are
that's for
everyone.
everybody, whether you're Premium Club or Quilt Club Week or whatever. That's for the whole world. You can go in and watch those. We do those free for you so that you can see how we do stuff and like, yeah, I want to join. I want to be a part. It's like getting a little pre-taste. And then Wednesday, we're going to have one class. And those are for the people who have signed up for Quilt Club Week or are Premium Club members. Remember, if you're Premium Club members, Quilt Club Week comes with it, so you don't have to do anything. You're already ready to go. So Wednesday we'll have one class, just one class, and that way everyone doesn't feel stressed about their technology and knowing how to get into Quilt Club Week. It's kind of like when you're driving around trying to find the convention center, you know, you need to know where to park, and then you need to know where your class is and where your lecture is. So it's nice to have a day to go and preview that before you actually jump in and have to do everything. So Wednesday is like a preview or an early bird. We have one class that way, and then we have all day to help you. For those that need help, the email and like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? Then Steve can spend all day helping those that need help. And then Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, Friday morning at 9 o'clock, Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, I'll have a live opening. I'll talk about the classes that we're going to teach that day. And then Steve will push the button, like unlock the door to the convention center. and you'll be able to go in. So all of Thursday's classes will be loaded at the same time on Thursday morning. You go in and watch as much as you want, comment on the Facebook pages, or comment right under the classes, or email. If you have specific help that you need with something, it's best to email. Don't do it on the social media or the comments underneath, because we may miss it. If you email it, we'll get it. We'll be able to help you better. And then I'll have 2 live sessions on Thursday. And then on Friday morning, same thing. I'll have 2 live sessions. I'll have the opening at 9. Steve will push the button, unlock the door. Everybody can come in. You can watch what we had the day before Thursday, or you can watch the new stuff on Friday. And then Saturday is every day new classes are loaded, new lectures. We have, I'm teaching, Sherry is teaching, Kay and Kathy are teaching. And I felt like when I was thinking about today, I thought, I really haven't talked about Kathy's machine quilting classes that she has, because she's a wonderful quilter, and she just does it on her regular sewing machine, just right there on the tabletop machine, domestic machine. And she can show you how to do that with your machine. And every year at Quilt Club Week, this is now our 5th one. We had 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, so our 5th one. She has taught classes. So if you're really wanting to go in and learn about how to turn your regular sewing machine into a quilting machine, and how to handle your quilts, how to mark your designs, how to decide what design, she has hours and hours and hours of teaching on there. And I probably haven't highlighted her the last few times like I should have, because you can do this actual quilting on your regular machine, and she'll show you how to do it. And to me, that it's worth it just for that, if you want to do that. Okay, and so every day new classes. Go back and watch the other classes. Go back and watch the other years. It's just a fun, great time to enjoy what you do and watch it. We have a lot of people that are caretakers of family members, and so they don't actually get to sit down and actually do the stuff we do, but it's what they love, it's what's in their heart, and they watch it while they're busy taking care of their loved ones, and still get to have the enjoyment of being part of a quilt, I'm going to say group or society or community, but they don't get to work on it. They'll get to come back to it at some time, but they're still learning and growing and enjoying what they get to do. Okay, so anytime you have questions, just type that in on the comments, and we'll get those questions answered. I'm going to tell you real quick about a couple of different sale things, because if it's your first time, I don't want you to miss out. And then we're going to get started with the FireFly. And the FireFly is when you have lots of half square triangles coming together, like you see here, about how easy it is, and it's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so one of the text messages or emails that we got was from a lady who said that her sewing room gets so she gets so overwhelmed when she goes into her sewing room, because she's got so many projects going and so many things in different places. And I do too. I think all of us do. I think that's the nature of the beast, is we get started on something and then we have to set it aside and get going with something else. Now, I always have scrap quilts going, and if you'll watch in Quilt Club Week, I talk a lot about how I sort and organize my fabrics while I'm working on a project. Whatever scraps or leftovers I have, I already have places, bins, baskets, whatever, organized, quilt I'm going to make, whatever, ready to go. So I may have 3 or 4 scrap projects going all the time. Now this one is one that I've had going for about 3 years, and last week we did the hen house, and this is my hen house basket. So one way that I organize myself, because I don't get to work on it all the time, is I keep everything together. So you can use a cardboard box, a tray that the 6 packs of soft drinks come in, whether it's just cardboard, whether it's just a basket that you get at Hobby Lobby. These are the nice Longaberger baskets, and I keep my stuff sorted in there. So let's do an overhead camera right here so that they can kind of see inside here how I have it. So here's a little basket where I have my basic squares made, and these little basic squares are all organized and nice and neat in this little basket, and it goes inside the bigger basket. And then the next step after you trim these up, it's all of your little flying geese. So if I want to trim, I can trim. If I want to sew, I can sew. And then are my bigger pieces that I'm working on, and you can see all of these in last week's video. And then I just have everything organized in here and ready to go. Anything that I need, and my hen house book would go right there. And then I'm ready to just put that on my shelf, tuck it under the edge of a table, and everything is together. It looks good. It brings me enjoyment just like this. And so whenever I'm, you know, ready to do something that to me is brainless, I'll come in here to this hen house and I'm ready to roll. And this is a little message from a lady. I think I did mention it in the last couple of weeks, but it's really important because we can lose our mojo, and we can lose our mojo, and we can lose our energy to go sew when everything is just a mess. And that's kind of where this lady was in her struggle. She says, this morning I watched a replay of Quilt Talk from April 24. It had Kay and Kathy on there, and the topic was losing our quilting mojo. All three of you ladies said that your sewing room needed to be picked up, uncluttered, and in order to be able to walk in and start sewing. And when I have a project going, if for some reason my alarm went off and it's time to stop and go do something else, or the day is over, whatever, I try to leave everything in an organized manner so that when I go back, maybe I have 15 minutes, I can go back and actually sew and pick up where I left off. She said it inspired me to declutter my sewing room. It looks like a bomb went off. I think we can all testify to that. One of our members was on Facebook group talking about that she was in there cleaning up after a bomb had gone off, and that, you know, she said, I was so overwhelmed I didn't know where to start. So I turned around and I go to do something and I get sidetracked, and then I go and do something else and I get sidetracked, and that's the way it is. And she said, it seems my problem is that I work on multiple projects at the same time, so there's stuff everywhere for each project. Thank you for what you and Steve do to help us along our journey. So this will help you along your journey of keeping stuff organized and ready to roll. I love just pulling out a basket, a box, a bin, and it's got everything in it that I need. So real quickly, here's if you need help getting a startup going, then here's your basket that you can put your pieces in. You can find these on the website, and then your little baskets to put your pieces in, and they all just sit right down in there. Now this one and these two match. If you want a matching set, put your pieces in here, put your little scraps or whatever, put your notions down in here. This is one that's ready to roll with all of your little sewing goodies. Now, I want you to look at this fabric that's up here. This is our eagle flag, and on the white, you can't really see it from where you're at, but it says 1776, 2026, and then 250, because our nation is going to be having a birthday in 2026, and it's going to be 250 years old. So here's your fabric with plenty of time to get in there and make those celebration quilts. Let's look down here at what we have on sale. We have a marvelous promotion going with our Patriotic fabrics. You can get you will get 2-yard pieces of each one of these that you see, and there's 12 of them, 4, 4, and 4. So you can see your eagle head in the red, white, and blue, your eagle flag like I had up behind me in your red, white, and blue, your tone-on-tone flags, just a very faint flag on those, in your red, your blue, and your green, because you need this green accent piece to go with your eagles. And then we have 2 checks, the blue and tan, the red and tan, and then a solid blue tattered and torn. So these are all 2-yard pieces, and they're in a bundle. There's 12 of them, so that means there's 24 yards. And you can save over $100 when you order them all together with this promotion. And it will go to the end of the month or until our 2-yard bundles are sold out. And I think I have like 3 of them left, so jump in there and get that. And then in all 12 of these different fabrics, you can also order a 6-yard piece of any or all of them that you want, and you get 6 yards for $50, and that can be your backing for your quilts, so you can go in and choose and pick whatever you want. Now also, what was I going to say, for the backing of your quilts, and just good to have. These are just all good basics that you can use in there. So those are the Patriotic ones. So that promotion is just about all used. Then we also have a promotion on these 3 books. So it's option 5, the hen house. We watched that last week. Oh, now I know what I was going to say. A couple of videos ago for Quilt Club Week, maybe the 3rd one, we showed a lot of quilts made out of this Patriotic fabric. So go back and watch either the 3rd or 4th one. And you can see all the Patriotic quilts that we used in this fabric. Okay, so these 3 books are a promotion. I don't remember now what their regular price was and what you're saving, but this will go to the end of the month. This is a hen house. We did it last week. We showed the snowball in a previous video, and then today we're going to do the FireFly. Now, if you have like 2 of these and you don't have this one or whatever, then Steve's got something on the website where you can still add the 1 or the 2 that you need and still get a discount, a promotion price. So go on the website, squareandsquare.com, where the products are, and look around for that. And this is the one we're going to use today for class. Okay, and then we have take advantage of our railroad fabrics. Those are almost all gone. The black track, the cream track, the red track, and then the big panel. And we showed some of that in some past videos more so. This is a half-yard pack. I think we have 1, maybe this one is the only one left with these 5 little half yards on sale. And then these are ones that are not on promotion, but these are ones that we call Endangered. That means there's not very much left of them. There's like a 4-yard piece of the black and blue and a 5-yard and maybe a 6-yard. The tan or the light creamy color with the flag on them, this is real limited. If you want any of this with the flag, you can just kind of see a faint little flag for your backgrounds. This green check, we're coming back with lots of new green colors next spring in our checks and in our tattered and torns, our basics. And so we're at the end of almost all of these. This one is the one we call beige check, real limited on all of these. This little green star. This one is the tan or yellow fuzzy leaf. I'm not sure how it's put on the website. This one's almost all gone. This one is the black flaming bud. It's in the fall premium club quilt we're working on. It's in several kits we're doing, so it's just about all gone. And then our black check. Now just look at these right here and our black flag. Just look right there at that. If you want to know what fabrics to put together to make a quilt, here are some suggestions and ideas right here. Any of these would go together. You'd have your backgrounds, your darks, your focus prints, your mediums. It would make a gorgeous quilt. You can even add a little bit of the red. So take advantage of these. These are gone. Our black tattered and torn, I've been telling you it's almost gone. It's gone. You won't find it on the website or the red one. Those are all gone. Okay, and then we have the farmers books. Take advantage of those. And so now let's look at what we're going to do for our FireFly class today. Okay, so to do the FireFly, you need to understand the basic square and how that is what we use for everything that we make. And so this right here is a basic square. Of course, you can change your sizes and your colors, but that is the basic square. Then we have the option 1. And the option 1 is when you trim, leaving the 1/4 of an inch on all 4 corners. Option 1 is square in a square, and it's the 1/4 left on all 4 corners. So let's trim this up. And you can use any of the rulers. You can use the Grande, you can use the original, or the mini. and I'm in a small space, so I'm going to jump in here with the mini. So here's the 90 on my ruler, and I'm just going to push the 90 into that corner, and these black lines that come in touch, those are going to go right over the seam. So there you go, bam, just like that. Slide it in there. Everybody can do this. You can cut squares and strips and sew them together. That's easy. Actually, my little 3-year-old granddaughter did that. And then you can lay this ruler on here and just place the lines right over the top. This is going to give you that 1/4 of an inch on that point, and see that grid line going through tells me that all of this cutting and sewing came together good. So as you go around and trim it up, where you've already cut, keep it square, keep it neat, keep it parallel. And we're just going to keep putting the 90 in the corner, lining up the black lines, checking where I've already cut to make sure that it is staying square there on the outside. These are pretty little, but you can save these all that you want and go in and put those. Here's another little basket I have to keep myself organized. So here's where leftover pieces are that I've used here and the studio trimming, and I can go back in and use those. See, this is a basic square, but instead of having a strip on the side, I just used these cut off triangle units that were appropriate, being the correct size for the square. And so you just go in, and there's during Quilt Club week, well, not during Quilt Club week, but soon I'm going to do a class to show you a quilt. It's at the quilter right now called Abby's Wedding Quilt. And as soon as I get it back, I'm going to show you the quilt and show you how much fabric we had left over, because we just kept reprocessing this. And so I'll show you what quilts these were made from. So there's your option 1, 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. And then option 2 is where you sew around it again. And then option 3 is when you come in here and trim it just a little bit different. So option 3 is the flying geese. And you do the 1/4 trim, like you saw me do here, on 2 opposites. And you do the 2-step on 2 opposites. Now these are the basic units that you need to learn. Okay, so here you can see the 1/4 of an inch at the top and bottom, trimmed it just like I did here on all 4. And then on 2 opposite sides, you can see how it's real sharp. It's right up close to that point. You don't see that 1/4 of an inch on those. And that's because we're going to cut through here, and we're going to trim it into 2 flying geese. So here you can see the 1/4 of an inch, top and bottom, 2-step on the sides, cut through the 2-step, and you have your 2 flying geese just like this. So that's option 3. So you've learned basic square, you've learned how to trim leaving a 1/4, and you've learned how to 2-step. Now, if you know those 3 things, you are ready to rock and roll. That's it. It's that easy. You know, it's like a cake mix. Open the box, pour in the egg, pour in whatever your liquid is, mix it up, cook. You're done. It's just that easy. Okay, now option 4 is half square triangles. And we're going to 2-step all 4. So here you can see this little 2-step where we did it close? Here you can see it on all 4. Now, I haven't shown you how to do that 2-step. And we're going to be working with flying geese today and half square triangles, option 4. So when you come in here and cut that half square triangle, see those half square triangles, option 4? See how you get one there, and there, and there, and there. Cut, cut, and you're going to have those 4. Whoops, I had that little white one turned wrong. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Basic square. So no matter where you start, you got to have a basic square. You got to have a basic square to do your option 1. You got to have a basic square to do your flying geese. You got to have a basic square to make your half square triangles. This right here, this is how we make every quilt. Every stinking quilt starts out just like that. So to do the 2-step, you come up here and look at your 90, and you see these ripple lines that come off, and they come off of each side. And it doesn't matter which side you work on, but we're going to work on this one over here that I call the left side of the 90. So we're going to push that 90 in there just like you saw me do a little while ago. And then I'm going to step it over 1, 2. That's why we call it the 2-step, because you put the 90 in the corner, and then you slide it down or into the square, step it 1, step it 2, and see how that corner just snugs right up in there, that line just snugs right up in that corner. And then when I look at that corner and that tip, I see this grid line, and I can adjust a little bit so that it shoots through this corner, because that's important so that all 4 of these stay the same size. They need to stay the same size. Obviously, that's important. Now, one thing that I love about doing this for my half square triangles is I don't get any dog ears. I don't have to peel any papers. I don't have to use any liquids. I don't have to pull any papers off. It's just cut and sew and put the block together. And that's what I want to do. I don't want a bunch of prep work. I want to go to my sewing room and I want to get something done. And the other thing is that I can put a different color on each side. So let's see if I have one in here with a different color on each side. Well, I'm not finding one at the moment, but, oh, here's one. So here you can see how I have same color opposites, which would give me 2 half square triangles that look like this and 2 that look like this. Or I could do a different color and get 4 different ones. Now, I love scrappy stuff, so that's really exciting to me that I can do a speed piecing method and get my 4 scrappy ones that I want. So we're going to 2-step all 4. So there's 1. And as I go around, I check where I've already cut, making sure my outside edges are staying square, because we want these to be as nice and clean as possible. So it's not just that we're cutting where our point needs to be, but we're cutting these outside edges so that everything is nice and neat and square. So this is my 3rd cut. So I want to look here, and I'm using these horizontal and vertical lines to make sure that it's staying good. Now also I can look from point to point here, and I can find out what my cut size is. Now remember, you have a cut size, which is the larger size. So let's just guess a number and say it's 2.5. And you have a sewn size, which is the smaller size. And it would be 2, because let's just play like this is 2.5. I don't know what it is. See, it has those raw edges on it. So it has a raw edge or a cut edge. And even though the half square triangle is made and it's completed, it's not finished. So it's an unfinished size. So any of those words go together, and it's the larger cut size. So when this gets completely sewn in a quilt, like when you see this one right here, see how it has no raw edges on it? It's completed, it's finished, it's actually finished. So you could call it finished size, or it is a sewn size, or it's a graph paper size. And when you're working with building a quilt, this right here is where you have to work. The sewn and the graph, okay? And then we'll talk about charts later about sizing. If you're following the patterns, of course, we give you all the sizing that you need. But if you're doing like the one message said that we're adapting and we're creating and all that, then you'll need to know how to get these to turn out the size that you need them to be and to do the chart. So we'll go there later. Sometimes people want to jump into doing all this pattern adapting when they don't even know what these right here are. And so that's a lot to learn all at once. Not that you can't, but it's kind of nice to have a little bit of knowledge laid down to build on.
So why are you two-stepping all four sides?
We're two-stepping all four corners because we're going to cut through here and get 4 half square triangles, and that's my next step in this two-step. So when you look at your piece, you want these points, whether you're doing half square triangles or flying geese, you want these points where you cut to be sharp so that when you come back and sew a 4th and a 4th, your point is right there where it needs to be. So you're actually moving your seam allowances, well, you're actually moving your points and creating a seam allowance. So normally I turn my mat, but I've got too much up here, because normally I don't tell you to move your pieces because that can affect your perfection in your sizing. So two-step all 4 corners, boom, boom, there's my half square triangles. Hopefully you know now why we did that. If you need more help on that, put your comment in there and we'll move forward on it so that we can help you understand better what you're doing. Okay, so option 1's square and a square, all 4, leave that 1/4 of an inch. Option 3, flying geese, you're going to two-step on 2 opposite corners, cut in half, and you get your flying geese. Half square triangles, you're going to two-step all 4 corners, cut and cut both directions, and you get your half square triangles. Now these are all the basics, and this is the when you get individual units. Okay, so that's important to know. Everything here stays exactly the same as we move on to putting these in the FireFly, and that's where we're going next. So perfect time for a question.
So do you use graph paper?
I don't use graph paper now, but you can use graph paper because I have all of it in my head.
But it's on the charts, right?
Yes, and I said we're going to talk about charts, so I guess right here is a good time to do that. This is your main book right here. This is your square and a square book, and it's got lots of, this is your reference book. This is volume 1. This is the one that everything that starts out with what we call a square in the middle, so that's options 1 through 17. We're not doing diamonds today. We've done some diamonds and some past ones here the last couple weeks, but this one here is your basic diamond. So see that diamond in the middle? And so those are options 17 to 44, and those are in your reference book 2 called Diamonds by the Square. Okay, so let's say that you need, let's go back to this cut and sewn, because you have got to understand, I can't implore you enough to study this and understand it, because if you're going to use the charts and if you're going to do creating and building on your own, you have to understand the difference in cut and sewn. And 9 out of 10 text messages and emails I get when people are trying to figure out sizes for stuff, that's where they got off. Is they are working with a cut size when they need to work with a sewn size, and so on. So your cut size is your larger size that has a raw edge on it, and your sewn size is your smaller. It means no raw edges. Okay, so you've got to know that, you've got to understand that, and then when you go to your charts to look at them in your book, at the top of every chart of the columns, it's going to say cut size, sewn size. So if you need let's say you're working with cut size of 2.5 for a half square triangle, and you go to the column, and at the top of the column it says sewn size, and you've got the cut size in your head of 2.5. When that column wants to know the sewn size of 2, then you're going to be, it's not going to be the right size. Okay, so let's go in here. There's 12 pages of charts, and they start on page 34. And one lady said, I don't understand your charts. Well, you've got to look at them. You've got to look at them and think about what you're doing. So, I'm not sure how well you can see, but these are the two most used charts right here. So if Steve wants to come down.
Let me move it over.
Okay. All right. So this one says option 3, flying geese. It shows a picture. I think that's pretty clear. This one says option 4, half square triangles. Shows a picture. Okay, so this chart does flying geese. This chart does half square triangles. Then when you go down to see the columns at the top, it'll say sewn or finished size. This is option 3, flying goose. So your sewn or finished size. And then this one says sewn or finished size. So let's work with a half square triangle instead of a flying goose, because this has got two measurements. It's got this measurement on the short side and then the long side. And half square triangle is just a square, so I can use one measurement. So it says, what is the sewn or finished size that you're looking for? Well, we know that if it's a cut 2.5, it sews down to a 2. So let's say we want a 2-inch. So we're going to go in this column right here where it says sewn and find your 2-inch. And then you're going to move to the middle column, and at the top it says cut center square, because that's what you need to find out. I don't know what I did with my, is you need to know what is this cut center square. Do I have a basic? Here's one. Okay, because what you're going to make, remember everything starts out like this with your basic square. So what you're doing in this chart is you're finding out what size do I cut this and what size do I cut this to get this to be the size I'm looking for. So when you find your 2-inch sewn, that means it's going to be 2.5 with raw edges cut, because the charts already have all your seam allowances and everything built in. Because the quickest thing is, what size do I cut? What size do I cut to make this, so that these all turn out to be what I want them to be. So that's what the charts do, is they tell you about the basic square. So your cut center square, bam, it tells you what to cut it. See, it says cut at the top. And then the next column tells you what size to cut your strips. So it's just that easy. And especially with these beginner ones. I will give you credit that when you move up to option 10 and so on, you know, it could be like, okay, what am I looking at? But if you know this beginning stuff here, then it makes option 10 and option 14 and all of that so much easier, because everything builds off of what I've shown you today. So I'm literally telling you everything that you need to know. If you want to learn option 10, then learn what I'm teaching today. Learn this. If you want to do option 14, learn this. Learn what I'm teaching today, because this is the basic. This is the core of the system. And once you know this and understand this about a basic square, and option 1, and option 3, flying geese, and option 4. So it's kind of like learning a whole new language. You know, like my students that have been with me a while, you know, I know that I can say, oh, you just need to make 2 option 4s and you'll be just fine. So it's kind of like another language. You kind of have to learn the language, and the language is easy when you know what I'm teaching today. I'll be like, well, you need to make 4 basic squares, and you need those to be whatever. That, you know, that's how we do it. So learn this, and then you're ready to move on to the next step and the next step and the next step. Okay? Do we have questions before we jump in? Okay. So now, to do the FireFly, we're going to take what we've learned and we're going to move on with magic. It is pure magic. I mean, the fairy dust is coming down because these fireflies are fire. They are magic. When we introduced the FireFly about a year ago, several words that people said was, oh my gosh, these fireflies are game changers. And they really, really are. They are game changers. Now, let's talk about a half square triangle. A half square triangle, when you traditionally sew it, it can be difficult to do. To get your corners to come out nice and sharp, to keep it square, and all of that. We all know the hassles of triangle units and half square triangles. So you look at quilts like we have up here. and you see, you know, all these triangle units in the moonlight, which this is one that we're teaching during Quilt Club Week, one that I'm teaching. I think we divided it into 2 parts, but anyway, 4. There's 4 or 5 parts. Okay, there's a lot of, this is really an in-depth quilt that we're teaching during Quilt Club Week. But look at all of these triangle units on a feathered star. That's why most people don't want to make a feathered star. It's because you've got all of these triangle units going on, and you know that it's going to be a hassle and a headache, and that you're going to get frustrated with it. And so you throw it in a cardboard box and stick it under a table somewhere, and it's just in your sewing room, just sending out negative vibes. And we don't want that. We don't want any negative vibes. And then look at this lady of the lake over here. See all of these half square triangles in a row? And now you can see all of these half square triangles in a row. Yeah, I mean, you would look at this quilt and just like, man, I don't know if that's ever going to happen in my sewing room. I'm just not sure that's ever going to happen in my sewing room. That one or this one. And now with the FireFly, it's just as slick as it can be. Okay, so let's go back to the issues of half square triangles. We all know the nightmare of just creating them. Then, after you get them made in the traditional world, then you've got to figure out how to get them turned and placed in there just right. So we know how easy they are with square and a square. So we've accomplished that. We've climbed that mountain. We're at the top with all of our half square triangles, and now we're ready to put them together in a quilt. When they look great, why are they so hard to work with in a quilt? Well, they have 4 sides, and that means that color moves. So if you sew it on this side, that color's in a certain space. If you sew it on this side, that color's in a certain space. So you have 4 sides. So you have 4 choices of where to sew it to. You can lay it all out. It can be perfect. You pick it up. You sew it on the wrong side. Those colors are twisted. And so that's what the FireFly does, is that the way that we sew them together, they do not twist. So you have 4 sides. That means you have 3 chances of doing it wrong. So if you make 12 half square triangles and sew them into a quilt, you're probably going to have to rip out about 6 of them because they get turned wrong. And it takes so much time to double check, double check, double check. And if your mind goes off somewhere and you're not paying attention, it's going to be sewn wrong, which means you're going to have to rip them out and put them back in. I have actually put in half square triangles 3 and 4 and 5 times in the same spot, trying to get them right. There's only 4 sides, one of them's right. But there was one little half square triangle. He was a big problem, and I had to sew him in about 5 times to get him turned right. Okay, let's look at the solution. Let's go. Let's go to what these FireFlies are and what they're doing. So let's look down here at our table. We're going to be using option 3s because they are a triangle unit. And we're going to be using option 4s. Now, most of the time you're going to be using option 4s for your FireFlies, but sometimes that little flying goose comes in there and he's going to be the best buddy you ever had, because he is going to do something for you that nobody else has ever done. And he's going to help you change directions when you have a bunch of half square triangles in a row. Okay, so what you need for FireFlies is you need this option 3 not cut. So you need it like this. Do not cut it. That's what you need for the flying geese. And on half square triangles, you don't want the individuals, just like we didn't want the individuals. We want it cut 1 time. So normally we come in here and we cut, but now for a FireFly, we're only going to cut 1 time. We want these. Okay, so here you have, like if you look at a flying goose, see how you have that 1/4 of an inch at the top and bottom and the 2-step on the corners? You have a rectangle, and that's a flying goose. Now, when you cut your half square triangles in half 1 time, it's not a flying goose. It is a rectangle, but it is not a flying goose. See, you don't have that 1/4 of an inch at the top, because we're going to come in here and cut this and you're going to get the half square triangles that you need for your quilt. But what we do with the FireFly, we'll come back to our little flying goose here in a minute. So for the FireFly, do not cut your flying geese in half, and only cut your half square triangles in half one time. So look, now you're going to come in here and you're going to sew these FireFlies together, and you can sew up to 5 of them together in a row. You can put more than 5, but you need to work with them in groups of 5 or less. So anywhere from 2 to 5 you can put together. Now, because we did this 2-step trim, when you come in and sew these together, see that blunted edge right there where you did your seam? And that is your magical seam allowance. Let me see if I can find my little. So when you sew these together, you should come back in here and you should be able to measure, and that needs to be a half an inch, because you need a 1/4 of an inch on this tip and you need a 1/4 of an inch on this tip. Because when you have these sewn together for however many that you need, then you're going to come in here and cut them apart. So I'm going to use my ruler and see this, see when you look at the edge of your ruler, see that first line is a 1/4 of an inch line. We use that all the time to square up.
That's the original ruler?
This is the mini, but the original has it. Where's my original? So my mini ruler has it on a long side and a short side, and my original has it on 3 sides. It has it over here, it has it down here, that 1/4 of an inch, and here. So either one. And then of course your grande has a 1/4 of an inch also. So see those 1/4 of an inch lines that go along the outside edge. That's what you want to use. Because we talked about how this is a 1/2 inch in here. So we want to use that 1/4 of an inch line. So the edge of the ruler goes right through that point. Your 1/4 of an inch line goes right there on that point, and it should leave a 1/2 inch on each side if your seam, when you sewed these together, was correct. So then you cut that in half. Now I don't want to cut it yet because it's the only one I have sewn. I'll come back to it, but let's look at let's see, what do I want to do here? Okay, so here are 3 put together. Let's look at this little quilt. This quilt right here uses 3. So this is what you would need. Get this out from underneath. So in this quilt here, you have 3 half square triangles in a row. Now let's go back to the beauty of this. So when you're putting these together, see how you're going to get that section of 3 and see if it's cut. See how it goes here like this. And then you have this section of 3 and it goes right there. So they're automatically turned the way you want to. If you get these 3 sewn together correctly, there's no way these are going to get turned while you're working on your block. So now you're already looking at this one that we call Eagle Mountain, and you can already see how it's going to be so much easier to do than what you thought. Because these are not going to get twisted. You have 3, 6, 9, you have 18 opportunities in this section right here to sew these together wrong. How many of those 18 opportunities are you going to take in this one, and this one, and this one, and this one? And then you need how many blocks for the quilt? That's why you look at that quilt and you think it's hard. It's because you know these half square triangles are going to give you fits. Not only in the cutting of them if you're not doing them square and a square, but in the sewing of them if you're not doing the FireFly. So this one here uses 3, so it would look just like that. So let's break that block down a little bit more. So there's your 1 block. Now I even want to show you how, let's see, which one was our, okay, these are all the same here. Okay. So you can see how you'll sew one set of fireflies here, and then you can even sew, I'm looking for the little piece, but I don't see it. You can even take, where's the one I don't have sewn? I got too many pieces here. I need my little sewn firefly that I haven't cut yet. What happened to him? So see, I guess we'll just use this one. Maybe this one. Nope, these three are all the same. See how these three are all the same? They go on that side. Where'd my little... Okay, well, we'll just talk about it. And let's see if maybe, let's play like this one is it. So let's play like that we haven't cut this one yet. And this is what it looks like here. So this is my 3 flying geese that I sewed together. And then I just sewed a strip across the end of it to where the point is. See, this is all the background here, and this one had the blues coming. So I sew a strip or a rectangle just across the end. And then when you come in here and take your ruler and lay it on there to get that 1/4 of an inch and cut it in half, you already have that corner square on the corner. So some of them you're going to do like this and sew the strip on the end, and some of them will just be the 3. So the 3 will go here on your blocks. So see how those are all the same. And then you'll have, oh, there they are, hiding underneath there. So see how I would just sew a strip right here. See how you just sew a strip across the end, and then when you cut in half, you have your units, and then there they are to go right there on the other side. So there's your corners. And then here we're just going to do our regular flying geese. So we have flying geese, a plain square, flying geese, a plain square, flying geese, plain square, and then those go right through the middle, like you see right here. So here, this goes through the middle. So look how easy peasy this quilt became. Just like that, and that's your firefly. So when you go to your firefly book, I'm going to show you some other wonderful magic with the firefly. So this here explains a lot about the basics like we did, and then it has the options that you need, and then it starts in with the characteristics of the firefly. So this very first one here shows the 3 put together and them all being the same color. And then it shows you in the book to go to whatever quilt to see how we used that. And then the next one shows you it's the same thing, but it tells you that you can do one color on one side and another color on the other, because sometimes you need multiple colors, fireflies with multiple colors. And then in this one, you can see how we have the fireflies and we have the option 3 flying geese. So for that, and what these flying geese do is they help you change direction. So can you see here how the angles are going the same, and then the angle changes in the middle, and then the angles go the same. So what that one is you have your flying geese and not cut in half. See, they're not cut in half. And see those sharp points, see these sharp points are all going to line up together. Now these are not the correct size to go with this one, but see how these points are all going out that way. So see how these angles all go the same. And then you would have, this is a flying goose, see it's got that 4th on it, but you can still get the idea. Then you put your other 2 on this side and sew them together, and it helps you change directions. So let's look at, so there it is right there, and then you just cut it in half and you have your 2. So this could be what I call a crown shape. Let's look up here at this quilt that we've got going here. See, we have 2 flying geese coming together to make this crown shape. So when you have multiples coming together of half square triangles or flying geese, that's when you think, the magic of FireFly, will that help me? Now let's look at, Steve, if you'll let them look at Lady of the Lake for just a moment, because that's where we're heading next with that particular quilt. So we'll let them look at that. Do we have a question? Okay.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Is this statement correct? I'll put it on the screen.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. Crafty Librarian says, is this statement correct? The purpose of the FireFly unit is to make half square triangle units easy. Yes and no. Just the plain option for the individual half square triangle makes the half square triangles easy. When you do the FireFly, which the FireFly is not cutting them up into individual units. Remember, we leave a flying goose without cutting that in the middle, and we use the option 4s only cut one time. So it does make half square triangles easier. Let me look at the statement again, because I guess when I looked at her thing, I was thinking of unit is to make half square triangle units easy. And so when I look at that statement, I think about 1. And so just the square in a square system makes 1 easy. It's when you're putting multiples together in a row. So multiples together in a row is the FireFly. And it makes multiples in a row easier because they don't get flipped. So when you look at all of these in a row, you look at that one and you think, oh, that's hard, because you see all those half square triangles. Let's, before I get to some of this advanced stuff, because these advanced FireFlies are going to rock your world. So let's look at, let's just go ahead and look at this one here.
Can you review about how you press before you cut?
Let me see what I got here. How you press before you cut. Okay, so how you press your basic square before you cut. Your center square is flat and your seams always go out and away. And if you are in Quilt Club Week or Premium Club, we have a whole class on pressing, and it gives you all the different variations that you would have putting any quilt together. And we tell you, this is how we cut this section when it goes in a quilt, this section when we go in a quilt. And I've talked, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with this, but there are certain units that you have that you put together to make a quilt. I've talked about it like food. If you have flour, sugar, potatoes, you know, your basic staples, you can put it together and make anything. If you, with your quilts, you have 4 patches, 9 patches, square and squares, flying geese, half square triangles, all these different shapes, you put them together and it makes every quilt. And so it's easy to know how to press a 4-patch, how to press this, how to press that. So go in and watch that video on that. But let's just look at a FireFly. Okay, now I like to, when you have multiple units coming together, I think it's great to press that seam open. Probably in the last 2 years, almost everything I do, I am pressing seams open. This particular one was made about 3 years ago, and you can see I just pressed normal of everything going to the side, but here you can see how I press that open. Now I would do this block and have so much of this stuff pressed open so that you don't have all this bulk in here. So with a FireFly, just press those seams open. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you need more, holler. Oh, okay, so let's look at this one here. This one's all the same color, but look how this one changes direction. So on this one, I would use 1, see how this is up? See how that center right here is a is a flying goose. Now you can see here how I have a seam, but there's no reason to have a seam on this one. You could do this one as a flying goose, so it would look like that. And I would put one FireFly on each side. So there's one FireFly, so that would be him. See how these angles are going to the left, and see how these angles go to the right. So the FireFly is like a switcher. It helps you switch your angles. So to make this shape, right here, where we have two going one direction and two going the other direction, I would do a flying goose FireFly, meaning that it's not cut the last time, and I would do a FireFly on each side. And see how they're not cut the last time. You sew them together and then you chop them up. So that's how I would do all of these outside edges. And then this side right here is just two FireFlies together. So I would sew two together, and I'm going to get one side will do one and the other will do the other. Now the other thing about FireFlies that are so cool is that when you have like mirror images of shapes, it automatically gives you, so sewn together, those look like that. So see how this side, when I cut it in half, see how this side automatically does that in the correct direction, and this side automatically does that one with the colors. So see how the FireFly, the magic of it, helps you. It gives you both of those going in the same directions that you need. And then you don't need a seam here. This one can be your flying goose in the middle, and sew your FireFlies on the side. And that's how you would get this shape. So that half would be there, and that half could go on one of the other crown areas of the block. Okay, question? Now these here are the Carpenter wheels. We showed you the whole Patriotic one of this one in one of our previous Quilt Club Week videos that we've done here in the last 5 weeks. So here you have two half square triangles coming together, and you want the colors to match. And so you could do these two with the FireFly. Of course, you've got to get your colors positioned correctly. And see, look at this one. See, you have two. So out of your FireFly, you would have this one, and it would go the direction that it's supposed to go. And the other half of your FireFly would do the other side. So see how it just makes these blocks, 97 pieces in here in a 12-inch block. But when you do your flying geese, option 3. So there's a flying goose, option 3. There's your option 1. Here's your option 4s and a FireFly. They just become 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like putting it together like a 9-patch.
What's the name of that block?
This one is called Carpenter's Wheel. You can find it in the book 1 reference book. I think we call it Revolving Star in that one. This one, you could see the whole quilt that we did with the Patriotic trunk show. That was probably the 3rd video that we did. So that would be 2 weeks ago. And then this one was one that we made in Premium Club back in spring semester of 21. We did a sampler, and this was one that was in that. So see how you can look at every block and break it down into the different options. And when you can break it down into the options, then you know that that quilt is easy to do and that you can put it together. You know option 3, you know option 1. Now I put it together in sections like this. I did corners, and then I did the center section. But you could do it in rows, and if you did it in rows, you could do this with a FireFly, just like we talked about, with a flying goose in the middle and one FireFly on each side. Okay. But here it shows how easy it is to switch up, to do multiple colors and to do 2. And then this one's kind of cool and kind of elaborate. Let's see what we got going on with it. Okay, so on this one here, we did 5 fireflies together. I said don't do more than 5. If you need more than 5, then do like a group of 4 and a group of 4, or a group of 3 and a group of 3, whatever, if you need more than the 5, because they just start twisting and moving, and I think you lose your accuracy. So these were my squares in the middle. My pink was my strips on the side, and I sewed a strip on the end, and then I came in here and cut it in half using that 1/4 of an inch, and then I just trimmed up the corners. And this is great. Think about when you have, I don't know if I have it in this one. No, I don't have a sample to show you on this one, but when you have a lot of, well, we did it in Crossroads, but I don't have anything out here to show you. Sometimes you need a lot of half square triangles coming together and then just a single one. And it makes like it makes a triangle shape in the corner. Let me see if I can draw it real quick. So, like the quilt we did last fall, we made big 20-inch blocks, and we had a lot of stuff going inside of these 20-inch sewn blocks. So think about in here, if you wanted to do these corners and you wanted to use half square triangles in these corners. So see how you could have, see how you have, this is a square with 2 triangles in it, but when you get to the end on all of these, you have a single. So see how that could go in there, and you have that single on the corner. And we did that in Crossroads, and it just made a beautiful, beautiful, these all came together big and just made a big star in the center. It was just gorgeous, really pretty, and just kind of magic. We just popped those in there, and the way that it happened, and it worked. So let's go back and look at some of these pink ones and see what we've got going on for some examples. So here you can see the 5 fireflies in a row. We added colors at the end to make these nice little corners. And see how these were all going, I'm going to say the noses of the geese or the noses of the centers were all pointing to the left, like these are here. And then we turn one the opposite direction. You can do that. And that is one. And this is one where I used some big pink triangle trim-offs and put them on the square to make my options. So there's one example. And then let's see what else I've got in my stack here. Here's Our Lady of the Lake that we were going to do a minute ago. So we needed some big triangles to go in the middle. So here's our big basic square that we trimmed up into the half square triangles to get those. And we did 2 different colors. Let's go back and look at our big quilt, and let's look at what we've got going on up here. So here you can see we did 2 different reds. We did this red with the little floral and this one with the little vine. And here's that big half square triangle that we have here in the middle, and then we're going to put 3 little fireflies across the end. And notice how when you put them together, you get this magic of that little pinwheel in the middle. And that would be cool to do that a different color, and then those pinwheels would really pop out, like if you wanted to do it with black or something like that. That would be really, really cool. So here's our large half square triangles that we have for the middle. And this is where we're headed. So there's Our Lady of the Lake. And let's turn this, so see how that goes right there. And let's look at all of our little FireFly pieces that we have here. So here is our FireFly trimmed up, two-stepped on all corners. We're going to cut it in half one time to get our actual fireflies. And we're going to sew, let me get these together. Let me switch out our color. Okay, so this one, what I looked for was I looked for the plain square, and so that one's going to go just like that. And this one is going to go like this. So here you can see how we sew. Let's see if this one is the right color. Okay, yeah. So you can see here on this one how we had our, actually I think it goes like this. So we had our fireflies sewn together, all going one direction, and then we reversed it so that it would go the other direction so that this would turn. So in other words, we had 3 going together in one direction, and then we took the other one and turned it. And it helps it to go the other direction. And then you just cut it in half, and there's your shapes. One grouping, we put the strip on the end, and the other grouping we did not. And that's how easy it is to make Our Lady of the Lake, just like that. Okay, let's look at Ocean Wave. This is another great one that people enjoy. And these are the basic components that you need for your Lady of the Lake. I'm sorry, this is Ocean Wave. So you're going to start out with your basic squares. Here you can see how I've used strips, and here I used big triangle cutoffs from something else that I was working on. And I'm going to trim those and go right up to the tip on all 4. I'm going to cut it one time to get the firefly shape. So when I cut it one time, I'll have that one and that one. And now I want to sew 2 together. So you can see here how this bottom shape, so I would sew 1 and 1 and cut them and then put 4 together. And I would get these. And remember, I don't have to worry about these twisting, because once I get this sewn together, those colors are going to be where they need to be. And they're not going to be changing on me. So when you put 4, so see in this block right here, let's look at just one block. So this block right here, you're going to sew them all the same, because look how you put it in there, and then it turns one time clockwise. Just keep going. And so these are all the same. Put 4 together. And you have your, this one. And then these are option 10s that we used on the side of a big square. I'm not going to show option 10 today, but you can see just how easy it is to get all of these half square triangles together and their placement where they need to be. And that's your Ocean Wave, and that is also in the reference book, book 1. Here is your individual, here's your other block. And so there you would have your blocks just go together in a row like that. So that's how easy Ocean Wave is. See how you can take every quilt and break it down to be a square and a square. That's the pattern adapting they all talk about. This one is Thomas Log Cabin. And you need, on a Thomas Log Cabin, look how you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of your fireflies, and then once again you could put your flying goose in the middle and not have a seam right there. So that would be when you need a long border, or in like Thomas's Log Cabin. So you can see here how it would go like that on your block. And then this one is Mrs. Sewell's star. This one is so pretty. I may put this one up on the, and this one is in the Maylie book. So here we have a small option 1 with our flying geese on the side to make that little star. And then this one is really cool. Instead of putting a plain square in the middle, look how we put half square triangles in there and put the strips on the side and trim it up. And so we get that shape. And then we have that one. And then we have all these fireflies going around a big one. So let me see if I can remember how to put this together. Let's put this up here on the, I think this one's worth taking the time to do it. And this one is one that we taught a couple of fall semesters ago. Let me see if I can remember just in my head how these go. So this one is like a big king size quilt in the book that we make, but you can just do it as just like a big tabletop or two. So you can see how these stars come together and connect. So you just sew everything in sections and let the system do the work for you. And you get this awesome, beautiful quilt without the hassle, the headache, the hard work. So we'll bring it together a little bit more so that we don't have so much gap in between, and you can see it coming together. And there we have it. Makes me want to finish this one. And this uses that beautiful black bud that I was talking about that's about sold out. So if you're wanting any of that and this looks interesting to you, you need to go ahead and get that before it's all gone. So let's see how that looks in the screen. That's not too bad. So you can see how all of these come together in the corners everywhere. And it's just that easy to put your block together. Okay, question.
Do you have a chart that has the different sizes of fireflies?
Yes, let's just kind of go through the book and see what's all in here in the book with the different sizes. So you're going to have your basics for your square and squares, your flying geese, your half square triangles. We get in here with what I call the characteristics. You know, think about people. They have blue eyes, they have dark hair, they're tall, they're short, they're thin, they're round. You know, all of us as people have different characteristics, and so the options can have different characteristics. And the reason why I refer to it like that is because different characteristics are DNA, and they're passed down through family members. And so this is all like DNA, it's definite, and it's passed down, and goes into your blocks. And so here are just different ideas, different characteristics. So when you're looking at a quilt and you're like, well, I need, you know, this shape or this shape, you can go here and look, and it's going to explain it of how to group it together. And then, oh, here's the one that goes in the corner that I was thinking about when I was trying to show you that, how all of these, and then for a sawtooth border, that's amazing. This one here is pretty cool. So this one's getting advanced with the FireFly. So here I have 3 FireFlies together, and I put my strips around it. So it's kind of like a hen house, what we did with hen house last week. And then when I go in and trim all of these corners, see how this shape comes out, and look how you can do your borders. You can put them together for blocks, and think about this as a setting square. You know, like where you have your block and then this is like your settings. I mean, look at this border that it's just so luscious. Because like if you use these as setting squares, then your block would come in here and your block would be on point. And look at this beautiful border that you're creating. Can that zoom out anymore? Yeah. So look at this beautiful border that you're creating. Just like this, you know. So just get the book and get some scraps and get in there and start working on stuff and creating and getting those juices flowing. So this one's even went a step farther. It went with our 3 FireFlies in the middle, and we put the strips around and trimmed it up. So it was like this, and so we didn't cut it, leave it as a square, sew around it again, trim it just like you do a flying goose. So that means you're going to 2-step 2 corners and leave the 1/4 of an inch. So see how important it is to learn that flying goose, so that when you get to this step, it's already in there. It's already in your brain. And so when I say 2-step it, when you get to this, or sew it around or whatever, it makes more sense. If you don't know that beginning, how in the world are you going to do this? So look at this if I wanted to do a star. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to do this one for so long, and I just have not had time to get back in there and do it. But look at that star, and then look at all of this wonderful, yummy stuff that's going on out here extra inside that flying goose. It's like, whoa, what happened? And there's your star. And then you could do a hen house in the corner, or a plain block, or whatever. Okay. Oh, look at this one. Zoom in on this one right here, Steve. This is kind of like what I was talking about. Zoom in on this one. So this right here is this shape. And then we just have plain squares in the corner and a plain square in the middle. Look how gorgeous that is. And look at all of those half square triangles in there. And you would look at that in a quilt or in a pattern book, and you would say, as Steve whispered over there ain't no way I'm putting all of those inside that flying goose. And look how easy it was. We went with our 3 flying goose. We sew around it. We trim, leaving the 1/4 of an inch. We sew around it again. We trim like a flying goose. Cut it in half. So see, look right here. Cut it in half for your flying goose, and there you got your points. Just, like I said, lusciousness, yumminess, scrumptiousness. It's just, I can't take it all. I need at least 2 days in one day or more. Hey, if you're asking for an extra 24 hours in 24 hours, you might as well ask for more than that, right? If you get 3 wishes, ask for 3 more. Okay, let's look at our charts here. Now, one thing about our option 3 and option 4 charts, our reference books goes up to a certain size, to the 3x6 on a flying goose. But in this book, we've expanded the charts for the half square triangles and the flying goose, because you can grow and do so much. So we had the the room on the page to do it, so we just did it. So if you need a flying goose or a half square triangle that's bigger than what's in the reference book, go look at your FireFly book. I mean, to me, the expanded chart is worth it even if you don't ever do a FireFly. So once again, same thing with your charts. You've got to know this beginning stuff that we talked about, basic squares and cut and sew. You've got to know this to use your chart, and you've got to know how to do your trimming, and that's it. If you know how to do, if you know that cut and sewn, then you can read those charts. And if you know the FireFly, don't make the last cut and use them as those whole pieces. That's basically the key to all of that.
How about the option overview
Oh,
videos?
Yes, last year for Quilt Club Week, our pre-classes that we did, our pre-videos, is we went through options 1 through I don't know how many. We did them for 3 weeks. The classes were like hour, 2 hours, and we covered what we call the option overview. So let's look at this book. I've got 2 actually that 2 here that I've got. So get yourself a big 3-ring binder. These are part of your downloads, so you can download your little cover that goes into the front of your notebook, and you can, you know, just do as many of those as you want for whatever notebooks you're making. We make in our premium club, we make our notebooks for class, because in Premium Club and in Quilt Club Week, you'll have some downloads, and so you can print them off and then put them in your 3-ring binder, and these are where you can just keep adding them. A while, I can't add much more to that, but this one here was the Farmer's Wife we did last spring, and there's 94 pages that we printed off in that one semester. There was 35 blocks and over 30 hours of teaching just in that one semester. So we make a lot of our little books. And this one right here is just a little testimony. It says, I recently joined Premium Club. I've just gotten started with Farmer's Wife. I'm really enjoying this series. I've been watching your videos for several years and have purchased your rulers and books. And the only thing I'm asking is, why didn't I join Premium Club sooner? And that right there, why didn't I join Premium Club sooner, is something that we see in almost every testimony that people send. And then also, since I've traveled and done all the quilt shows and stuff for 40 years, you know, people would have seen it at Houston or at Paducah or Road to California or the smaller shows. And they maybe looked at it, but then walked on and didn't buy it. Then later, they investigated more about what was going on, and they're like, why didn't I do it then? I have bought all these rulers. I've spent all this time when I could have had one system, one ruler that does it all. Any color, any size. Okay, so let's look back here at these little books. And so make your notebooks. Now, when I did these last year, we talked about them in families. So that goes back to the characteristics of each one. So like the characteristics of an option 1 is that you 2-step all 4 corners. And so an option 1, an option 8, 11, and 13, they all come from this. Option 3 is your flying goose. Your flying goose, you're going to trim up close on 2 sides and leave the 1/4 of an inch on 2. And that's how you start an option 9 and an option 15. So these are all family members. These all have the same DNA. That's the trimming. These all leave the 1/4 of an inch. These all do the 2-step on opposite. Then option 4 is when you do all 4 sides. I don't know if I have that one up here. Where you 2-step all 4 sides, and that's how you're going to do a 10, a 14, and a 40, and then now 44. We can put 44 on there for the FireFly now, and then so on. So we taught them in family groups, and you go in and make your book. So you know, make up your 20 basic squares, put one in your book, trim your option 1, put it in your book, and then you go in and do your option 2s, your option 3s, your option 4s, and so on. And so this is a great way to learn the system and help get the concept of what we're doing embedded into your brain. So here's a way that you can we start looking at a, let's say that you're looking at, let's cover that up. Say you're looking at this quilt and you're trying to figure out how to put it together, and it just looks so complicated in so many different units. But then when you start breaking it down, here we have a set of 4 half square triangles. You saw me do that in the ocean wave, and then just one big triangle to match. And that's all they are, and just the different ways you twist and turn them. So this is one that we did in December of 2019. This was one of the webinars or classes that we did. Same thing on this one, just how to break it down. This lady sent this to me, and she was trying to figure fabric. Do I have enough fabric? I mean, just look at all these and how you can write on them and break them down and figure out how to do them with your square and a square. And that's what we teach. So go in and look last year in the videos that we did. Go to squareandsquare.net and you can find those classes. You can make your notebook and be well on your way of learning what you need to learn. Another question, we're about ready to wrap it up here, so if you've got some questions, get them in. I'll just quickly go over the schedule. Again, first thing what I want you to know is that you are not alone. You are not alone out there in that quilting world. We have the emails, we have the teaching webinars, and seriously, there's really not anything that you're going to want to learn that's not already in squareandsquare.net in those webinars, whether it's the free webinars, whether it's Premium Club, whether it's Quilt Club Week. So many times, we have our quilt text hotline, 817-713-2879. You can text on that, and you can show me a picture of what you're wanting to make or what you've done and you need help with, whatever. I can make a video. I love to make a video and send it back to you and show you in your books where it's at. We can have a one-on-one teaching session right there. And so I love that, because think about it, if you go to your guild or to a big quilt show and you go take a class, you have to soak everything up in that little time period, and you don't get to go back, and you don't get the teacher to say, okay, it's now been 5 years and I'm ready to finish my quilt. How do I get going again? She's going to say, what? But with the online classes, you can go back and watch the classes over and over again. Stop, rewind. What did she say? How did she hold it? And if you need more help, we have the quilt text hotline, so you get that one-on-one, but it's on your time schedule of what works with you, not mine. If I'm teaching at a quilt show, that's when I'm there. You have to do it then. And if you don't, then, SOL. But with the online and the quilt text and the emails, we can just keep this flowing and going. There's no reason to have an unfinished project because you forgot what the teacher said. There's no reason to feel frustrated because you've got that helpline right there. I can look at it. I can figure out what you're doing. We can help. For example, last week there was a girl, a student, anybody, and her sizing was not turned out. We went back and forth, back and forth. She sent me pictures. I looked at her seam allowances. We checked the center sizes. It's kind of like, okay, what's wrong here? It's all good. So why is it not the size it needs to be? Well, then later I was on Facebook and I was reading at what different people were saying on stuff, and she was there and asking for help for her situation again. And I realized then that what we were not communicating on and what I needed to help her was that she was working, it's that cut size, sewn size. She had pulled the wrong size out to work with, and understanding that cut size and that sewn size. So I do have to be a little bit of a quilt detective, but I don't give up. We're going to keep working, and I'm going to, we're going to keep finding out what it is. And as soon as the light bulb went off on both of us of what that was, it was like, voila, here we go. And she's off to the races making her quilt, and it's beautiful and it's fitting. And so what I'm saying is, you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be lost. You don't have to be stranded. There's help here. Quilting, Steve always says quilting never sleeps. Any time of the day or night, you can go in and watch a video, go in and, you know, whatever. So quilting never sleeps. We're here for you. Steve helps you with the technology so that you know how to navigate through all of it. I'm not technology. I'm not at all. I barely know how to get my wires plugged in right to charge my devices every day. But Steve knows all that, and I always tell him when he's helping people, I'm like, Steve, they're like me. They don't understand all this, so make it easy for them. Help them so that they know what buttons to push, and it makes a difference. Are you on your laptop? Are you on phone, computer, iPads, Androids, Apples? It makes a difference. So sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's just right, like switching from Chrome to Safari. You know, it's just, and he'll help you with all of that. And he loves to do it. So don't be afraid to ask him for technology help. Don't be afraid to ask me for quilt help. We're here to do it. This is what we do. This is what we love. And Steve's a retired pharmacist, so he's very precise. He knows exactly what's in that pill and how many are in that bottle so that you get the help you need. The most trusted profession. So anyway, what I'm saying is we're here for you. It's not like you sign up and bam, never hear from us again. So, any last minute questions? Okay. If you haven't taken the plunge, go right on in there to the website .net or .com and sign up for Quilt Club Week so that you don't miss anything. And when Quilt Club Week is over, if you want to take the money that you paid for Quilt Club Week and apply it to Premium Club, we can do that too. We do that a lot. We like Quilt Club Week because it's a way you can get motivated, inspired, see what we do, realize that we have great value. I honestly don't know how we do what we do for the price that we do. I guess it's just God above and all the stars have lined up great. But we love to do it. So it's pennies a day. I guess that's it. Just jump in and do it. Take the plunge. Don't be like all these people that say, why didn't I do it sooner? Why didn't I do it sooner? Do it now. Do it now and enjoy it. Now the other thing is that we need to keep our brain sharp, and so doing what you love and thinking all of this stuff through is good for you. It's good for you. So it's like, you know, playing numbers games and all that to keep yourself sharp and to keep your brain going. We need to do that. A lot of our people are, you know, our age and older, and so we need to keep our brains working and motivated in a line of thought that we enjoy. So I'll see you on Sunday. We'll start teaching some quilts. Steve will be sending out some emails. We'll let you know what's going on. And the emails are important. That's our main communication with you guys, is through the emails. So make sure you have us, if you're new to us, make sure you have us in your address book so that it doesn't go to spam or trash. And you might go in there and look. You might be getting some in your spam and trash. But if you put us as one of your contacts, then it should go straight to you and not do that. So Steve, any last minute words for anybody? So. Okay, so we're going to have to be like the animals that eat and sleep all at once because, you know, they got work to do. So we got to get all of our eating and sleeping done between now and Sunday, because once Sunday hits, it is Katie bar the door. We've got quilters everywhere doing everything, having fun, laughing, needing help, all of that. Oh, and take advantage of our sale promotions that we have. Go to the .com and just put sale in the search bar, and it'll take you to all of our sale items. Like I said, some of those are gone and getting close to being gone. And then mark your calendar, October 1, we have our new promotion going for our new fabric. There's 8 pieces, I think, in it, so it's not a huge collection. It's 8 pieces, and we'll start that on Tuesday, October 1st, after Quilt Club Week. And Premium Club classes, we do not have classes the next 2 Mondays because it's all Quilt Club Week. So Premium Club members will see you on whatever that would be, like the 9th of October, something like that, whatever that Monday is. I don't have that in my head. All right, any last minute questions? Okay, I'm so glad you joined us today. I hope we've motivated and excited you. Now, FireFly is going from option 1 to option 44. So don't get scared. Don't think, oh, I can't do that. Learn the basic beginning. Take it simple and slow. Get some of those scraps out. I know you got them. Start playing. Don't jump in and say, oh, I'm going to make a king-size quilt, you know, and then that project gets put in one of those beautiful baskets and set aside. Jump in with some of your scraps. Start playing around. Get some confidence. Follow through step by step. Use the text line, the email, use the videos. You'll be fine. You'll be just fine. You're not going to suck air.